Yeah, a lot of videos today. Hey, welcome back to the Nerdrotic channel. My name is Gary Beekler. I am live in San Francisco, California, and I come to you from nerdrotic.com and still in parts unknown, but she has a face. She can talk. She's real. It's Susan Layton from 1428elm.com. How are you, Susan?
Hey, I'm fine. Nice to see you, Gary. Hey, everybody. How's it going?
How's it going, everybody in the chat? And this is going to be a brief conversation about ancient aliens because we have our big Friday night podcast after this. And honestly, Susan, out of all the alien subjects, this is the one I have the hardest time with. Now, I'm not saying I don't believe it. I'm just I'm a believer in some things more and more than others. Now, of course, there's Betty and Barney Hill. There's what's with Travis? Why do I keep forgetting his name? Fire in the Sky. Travis Walton. Yes, yep. Travis Walton. Those are like legit cases to me. Even to some aspect, Whitley Strieber. Who I like very much. I like his radio show, but they decided not to really go into the ancient part of it. I found that because they've done it before.
Right.
And this one was called The Taken, and it was about abductions. And it was a nice way to put in a little promo for AlienCon, which I think is sponsored by Ancient Aliens, right?
Yes,
or it's got something to do with it. I know Giorgio's behind it. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if he got this idea from, Comic-Con like everybody else did, because he was really interested in it back in the day. And Giorgio, by the way, the invitation is open. You are welcome here whenever you like. We would love to talk to you.
We want to talk to you, Giorgio, so come on.
Come on, Giorgio. Yeah, believe me, softball questions. They'll all be softballs, at least for me. So we started out with at AlienCon. And we saw Nick Pope, who I love, Nick Pope, who used to work for the Ministry of Defense. I think it was like for a minute. I think he worked there for like 3 years or something like that, or maybe 5. I could be wrong, but he has gotten a lot of mileage out of that. And I think he brings a legitimacy to the UFO field with his accent. At least he did in the beginning. I first heard him on Art Bell, and and got all of his books and read them all, and they're great. So, and we also got to see the great Linda Moulton Howe, who we don't see a lot on this show, Susan.
Not anymore. She used to frequent the show back in the day quite regularly. But now I don't know if it's because she's writing books, she's doing, investigative journalism. She must be really busy.
Yeah. And, I know the reputation she has with some people, but I love her. I freaking love her. She is like, she's such the go. She reminds me of, I'm forgetting the character's name, but in Big Trouble Little China, the Kim Cattrall's character. That's who Linda Moulton Howe reminds me of. Oh, thank you, Dakota Stanton, for the $5 super chat. We will be getting to you guys in the chat in just a second. We're going to briefly just go over the show. I don't know. What did you get out of it, Susan?
What I thought for me that was particularly interesting was the brain lie detector test.
Yeah.
Basically, that if you're telling the truth, your frontal lobe lights up, your temporal lobe area lights up. If you're crafting a story, it's the front portion of your brain that lights up like a Christmas tree. So basically, they were trying to determine if Brett Oldham was telling the truth, if he has been inducted regularly since he was 5. And what they found was very, very interesting, is that he was giving factual information. He wasn't crafting a story, but he was just giving facts. Now, here's my question. You can just give facts if you memorize something. If you tell yourself certain things, you can have your mind act as if it's an actual fact. And like, for example, if I wanted to convince people that I'm an Emmy winner, I could have that in my thoughts since 1995. Always tell myself I've won an Emmy. Chances are I'll believe it. I can convince people of it, and the right portions of my brain will light up. And that's how you get psychopathic liars, all those type of people. So I thought that was interesting, but does it prove that he's been abducted? Not necessarily.
Oh no, because he can, yeah, like you just said. What if he thinks he's telling the truth? What if he's just
Right.
delusional and he's and the delusion? Yeah, I don't know how that stuff works. That was it was cool technology. I would love to try that test just for a lot of reasons.
Right.
But my problem with these episodes that they have, and I've seen every episode of Ancient Aliens multiple times. Okay. And this is a repeat one. And this is the one, the reason we watch Ancient Aliens is to see stuff. All right. We want to see the weird, the large cut stones, the cave paintings. It's a show me show. So when they start doing the reality TV, you know, giving us a story, and honestly, the abduction stories that I'm sure, it's not it was amazing when they asked at the Alien Con, like, how many people thought they had them.
Mm-hmm.
And like more than half the audience raised their hand. That was interesting. And they had Dr. David Jacobs on, and if you remember, Dr. David Jacobs, they've mentioned this on the show many times, went into this just to study it as a complete skeptic, and became a believer, and actually, has made quite of a career out of it. Now, people can always question motivations, sure. But we're open-minded here on this podcast. And I think, he seems like a pretty trustworthy dude. I've heard a lot of interviews with him, and he knows what he's talking about. But again, we didn't get a lot of him.
Yeah.
We didn't get a lot of, they mentioned briefly the Bible with Abraham, but I'm fascinated with the actual ancient stuff that's been written down in the Bible. I even did, funny story. So Cameron Crowe, the director, has a mom. She was actually portrayed in Almost Famous. She worked at San Diego City College. She was my speech teacher. So when I had, I had to take an elective, so I took speech, and I had no idea who she was. She told me, "Oh, my son's a director." I'm like, "Whatever." And he used to write for Rolling Stone. I'm like, "Okay, whatever." And then like she said, "Oh yeah, he wrote Fast Times at Ridgemont High." I'm like, "What? No way!" Yeah, that's my son. So, but she really encouraged me. She is the first person in college that gave me an A, and she really encouraged me to do aliens in the Bible, a speech. I had to do this. And so the part of the group I was in, so I was going to City College through a rehab. Okay. And it was a religious rehab. So of course I was doing that to be a dick. And I did a speech on, aliens in the Bible. And I start, and doing it just to be a dick, I kind of became a believer myself. And that's the kind of stuff I really like. And again, at least they mentioned Betty and Barney Hill. Briefly, and they didn't mention the best parts. They talked about her mom, I guess.
Yes. Kathleen Marsden's mom, which I believe Kathy was their niece, and the mom, I guess, was Barney Hill's wife, Betty's sister. And they were trying to prove that abductions occur sometimes through family lineage. And that's why they made that point.
And they did, and that led up to the this would be a great plot for a movie, but the RH blood type, according to the show, is only 35,000 years old. And the ancient alien theorists say that this is a data point blood type that the aliens use to continually manipulate us, to turn us into some form of hybrid, possibly, and turning us from Homo sapien to, and Giorgio, I love how Giorgio delivered this line, to turn us into Homo sapien. I'm like, you go, Giorgio. Oh man, that was funny. So there's not a ton to unpack here, because they only told us two brief abduction stories, which were pretty interesting. Neither of them I'd heard of. One of them was here in the Bay Area. Some guy got abducted in Oakland, but
that young guy,
yeah,
and delivered into an amusement park parking lot, which was fully locked, so they couldn't explain how they got there. And that was interesting. Although that could just be, one bad mistake night full of tequila or something. I don't know. We've all been there.
yeah.
But what's interesting to me is, and I wish I could remember the rabbi's name, but I love him because
It was great.
he always brings up the biblical aspects. And if you do look at the Bible, and I can talk about this because yes, I went to Catholic school for almost 20 years. And that was kind of ingrained into us, the, catechism and everything. But in the Bible, there are some interesting things like Ezekiel and the wheel. What is the wheel? The fiery chariots. There's always instances, like they said, of people being ascended into the heavens. Moses goes to Mount Sinai, comes back with the tablets that contain the Ten Commandments. And according to what was actually reported in the Bible, is that his countenance changed. It was brilliant. It was like a blinding light. You have to sit there and wonder, what are they talking about? Now I sound like Giorgio, but it's like, what are they talking about? Is it, like he says, misunderstood technology? What is it?
Misunderstood
Or
technology.
technology,
Yeah,
or is it
technology.
fanciful writing? What is it? But like you said, in the Bible, there's, Noah, supposedly, and his father, was it Methuselah? Um, never they lived to be what, 900 years old, which we know is impossible. But there are theories out there that Noah just wasn't your average bear,
Yep.
that he was a hybrid, and that's why he was saved. Now, this is a theory. This is just me, like, being the reporter that I am, reporting on that. But that's been a theory that's been biblical, that people have tried to conjure up in regards to ancient aliens.
Yeah, and then we have the Indian Sanscripts, the Vedics or Vedics, whatever they're
The
called,
Vedic,
and the
yes.
Vimanas. Yeah. And there's tons of stories of like there. They just only covered modern ones, but again, this is a kind of a repeat episode. So,
Right.
the last one they did, I remember they really got into like the alien species and everything, like the
Oh,
Nordics and
the
the ones, the
reptilians.
reptilians, and they mentioned the insect ones this time. Yeah, it's but the RH negative blood type, that was new to me. That I had not heard that one before. That's a new
Really?
one. So that's yeah. So and they said they're tracking a bloodline, which it sounds great. It sounds really good. This one mainly featured Nick Pope. We also got Mike Barra. Mike Barra was the one who was with the abductee from September 1st, 1969.
Tom Reed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's Mike Bear's the guy I talked to last time I went to the alien thing down in the desert, contact in the desert. Totally cool dude, by the way. Very,
Yeah.
very cool dude. Extremely cool dude. He hung out and talked with us after his lecture for a long time, and yeah, just a nice guy. And it's funny when you talk to these guys, like when they're not got their alien on. It's funny that they're just dudes and girls,
Yeah.
and that's yeah. Some of them are completely out here. I mean, totally off topic. The one I ran into, her last name is Eisenhower, and she said she's a relation. She's like a grand niece or something, or a great niece of Eisenhower. She was the biggest lunatic I've ever seen at
Wow.
that
Okay.
contact in the desert. Yeah, I was like, wow, man. I mean, I've heard tweakers in trailers that sound more sane. But yeah, you got to take the good with the bad. There's probably some fans out there who are just going to kill me in the comments, but oh well. You weren't there. So let's get to the chat a little bit before we take off to the Friday night podcast. Overall, what'd you think of the episode, Susan?
I find it interesting because when you get into experiencers, or they call them abductees, but I think they prefer experiencers. I'm really interested in that topic because I read Bud Hopkins' book. I saw the miniseries from back in the early 90s with Richard Crenna. I think it was called Intruders, where he played Bud Hopkins, or an amalgam of characters, but it was based on his book.
Yeah.
I'm always fascinated by people that say they've been abducted, and by the supposed alien agenda of hybrids. of creating hybrids. And I often look at these abductees and I think, why you? Of all the people on this earth, billions of people, they target you. What is special about you? Nobody ever asks that question. Nobody ever asks an abductee that's had a lineage of abductions, like grandmother. Like if you've seen Steven Spielberg's produced Taken, which is a wonderful miniseries. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. Where they dealt with the concept of lineage and being taken from a child and following people throughout their family. Nobody ever asks the question, well, why was your family picked? Why wasn't my family picked? That's the kind of questions I would like answered. What makes you different? But I'm always interested in these type of topics.
Yeah, it's a really
It's
interesting
interesting.
topic. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. And even if it's happening to 0.1% of it, oh shit.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all I'll say is that ain't good. You know, but this is one I'm like not, yeah, I'm not convinced. I will keep an open mind on this
Yeah.
one, but I think there's probably a lot of other answers that you have
Mhm.
to go through first. But definitely Travis Walton, for sure. I believe. I've read that guy's book. I've been over that story a million times. That guy's been through the ringer, so many lie
Right.
detector tests. He is telling the fucking truth. So whatever happened to him, he thinks it's real, and
Yeah.
it was nuts. So that's the one and that's a great movie too. Fire in the Sky is a great
Oh, it
movie. And
is. Excellent.
Communion as well. Let's get to the chat for a few minutes here. First off, John Bellman, $20. Whoa! When it comes to aliens, I am always reminded of any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable, because I can read, from magic. Yes, magic is, they say it quite a bit, is just science we haven't quite figured out yet. Um, yeah, yeah. And the whole part of the, trying to contact them with radio waves,
Yeah.
I find that funny. I find that
Oh,
really
the
funny.
radio waves.
Yeah.
Are you talking about SETI or the other
SETI.
one?
SETI.
SETI.
Yeah. I mean, it's great. It's nice that they do it. I don't think that's the way though. But we got to start somewhere. All right. So we will get up to, and again, thank you, Dakota Stanton, for the $5. I am at the comedy club, but have a nice show. And if Mary is here, Cats was good, but expensive. Jeez. um, Gary, wouldn't it be funny if Giorgio ended up appearing on tonight's stream? Yeah, it would. It would. I mean, I haven't checked Twitter, but he hasn't gotten back to me yet. He hasn't gotten back to me. I have to admit, I've never been abducted by aliens, but I did have a creepy, blinding light dream. Well, that means you've been abducted. Did your butt
Of
hurt?
course.
uh, And there we go. That's right, Susan. I'd imagine spies or grifters, people that could lie convincingly for a living, could probably beat the test, or heck, if they believe they were telling the truth, right? Yep.
Right.
Like the story around the giants in the Bible. Talim 29. Yes, that's my favorite. I like the giants one. I know is the hardest one to believe, and people really look at you like you're freaking nuts. But that's the one I like the most. I don't know why. I just
The
like the giant
Nephilim.
stuff. The Nephilim, yes.
Yes.
Actually, the comic book that you guys will never see, my superhero comic book, was a scientifically made Nephilim.
Wow.
Yes. It
You
was
should
part of
resurrect it.
Project Dark Legion. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. I got notes. I've got 2 completed issues of it that you will never see. The book of Enoch speaks about aliens, but it's not canon. That's just crazy, Carlos.
Not canon.
The Christians even thought it's an ancient book. Yeah. Yeah. But who determined it wasn't canon, crazy Carlos? Wasn't it Constantine or
The
some,
Vatican.
yeah, the
I mean,
Vatican, yeah.
Enoch is one of those things that I've always wanted to read. And the Vatican is notorious for filtering information. They are like the great PR spin doctors before Washington even was coming into being. I mean, because there's so many things supposedly in their vaults, in their library. There's so many things in there that we can only dream of.
Oh yeah, and the Vatican Library, most of
Yeah,
it's not even at the Vatican anymore. So
probably not.
word on the street is it's in Canada. Bad Bunny, can you verify that? Fact check me on that one. That's what I heard on Art Bell, so it has to be true. That parts of it, that some of it's in Canada or something like that. There we go. Back to the Bad Bunny. I died once. Talk to God. Good news. We agreed to disagree. Did he say, I apologize for the inconvenience? Yeah, I Bad Bunny, I may or may not have myself. Little OD action, turned blue. Yeah, that was fun. Well, I don't remember much of it except getting hit in the face by my friend, which hurt, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Brought you back.
Yes, he did. I was cussing at him when he did too. Like, you motherfucker. Gary, isn't there a theory of the Garden of Eden may be some ancient alien laboratory? That's where kind of weird alien experiment. Funny thing you bring that up, Jody, is that the facility where my superhero was born was deep underground under the town of Roscoe, South Dakota, and it was called the Garden. It was called the Garden.
Wow.
Yes. The official Dougie J, who you'll see in the chat, my old friend, he actually co-wrote it with me. He made it readable because he's a good writer. There's the San Francisco Giants too, Mary Ashmid. Go Giants. I definitely think it would be an incredible wasteful. The multiverse only managed to produce humans as intelligent or sentient life. So who knows? There's no way we're the only ones here. I don't care what the silly monkeys with the white lab coats say. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Hi, random gamer user 42. I shouted you out in a video today, by the way, because you deserve it. But Susan, their concept of age and how they measured it back days were different from now we do to modern times, right? Kind of, Jody. I'll let Susan answer that though.
I don't, Jody, I wish I could answer that, with some scientific proof. I don't know if it was just because maybe Methuselah and Noah were older than what the average human at that time died, of, because we know even as, in this recent eras, in the 1800s, people were dying much sooner or earlier then nobody really lived to be 90, 100, maybe a few rare people. But you don't know. I mean, maybe Methuselah was 50, and back then that was considered 900. We never have a baseline for that. So probably some biblical scholar would have to quantify exactly how old they were.
Yes. Absolutely. But they also, I mean, not to piss off any Christians, all right, I respect all religions and I don't really have one myself, but a lot of like the Noah story is kind of from what Gilgamesh.
Yes.
There's a lot of similarities, but in all those similar stories, there were people who lived 900 years. So
Yeah.
it's either they're all taken from the same story or but that's not possible because according to archaeologists, nobody ever contacted each other across the seas. That was not possible. And we have some similar stories from places that are far, far away that there was supposedly no way they should have contacted each other, but they did. Which is, and Viking Bitch says, hi, Susan. Bad Bunny says, great to see you, 1900 Susan. Viking Bitch says, best chat ever. Agreed, Viking Bitch. And now that you're here, it's the bestest chat ever.
Of course.
Carmen argument, crazy Carlos, to use Nicaea. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. You see the apostles making reference to another OT books. No affirmation that even Daniel doesn't make mention of the book of Enoch, says Talim 29. Just based on your name, Talim 29, I'm going to say he sounds right to me. I don't know. I don't know. I slept through Sunday school a lot. I went to church. I'm a Lutheran, which is basically Catholic light. It's Catholicism without any of the guilt. Basically, you just go into the communion thing, you high five, say God, and then go watch football.
Yeah.
John Bellman, and that's not even considering being that they may exist in different dimensions. Jody's getting deep
Yes.
now. Or what might not aliens and also godlike entities existing multiverse or infinite possibilities, right? That is what Graham Hancock and Joe Rogan were talking about in podcast 725, which everybody should watch. All of the Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock, Joe Rogan podcasts. They're fucking brilliant. So they're talking about, of course, it's a Joe Rogan podcast. So he was talking about DMT, and they were talking about how Graham Hancock was talking about there was 5 separate volunteers to the whoever the DMT guy is. I don't know. There's some expert on DMT. And apparently all 5 of these people were separated, but they all came up with very similar stories, kind of like an abductee, to where they made contact with something or somebody, some entity.
Right.
So maybe it's a consciousness thing, Jody. Maybe it's not. Maybe they're simply right here and we need to open something up. This is hard to explain to somebody who is not, and this is not a judgment or anything, but and not everybody gets this experience, but I've dabbled. Okay, dabbled's not true. I've taken a lot of hallucinogenic drugs back in the day, and it definitely changes your perspective on life. It does.
Well, let me put it this way: when you do the deprivation tanks, if you're given a hallucinogen before you go in the deprivation tank, you could have a primeval experience. There's no telling where you could go. You could go an out of body experience because you're isolated in a warm saline solution. And, the idea of multiverses and alternate realities and string theory that's another area that's interesting to me because there's could be a Susan 2.0 somewhere that's like, I don't know, like living the high life.
That saved Ash versus Evil Dead. Sorry, too soon.
Yeah, in that universe. And then there's me here, and then there's other realities. So could those aliens actually be beings from these multiverses that are coming into our world? Also, time travels come up too. That's they might be time travelers from the future, which I find hard to believe because I wish they would come now and tell us quit rebooting shit. But that's Friday Night Tights. But anyway,
that's a teaser, folks. That's what you call
it. Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. But I think that I think that's very interesting, and I wish they would delve into that on Ancient Aliens. Those theories.
Yeah, I would, I'll do it now at the end. I really want to. Graham Hancock did a few of these. They're on YouTube. I want them to relaunch this series and do it right, and the quest for the lost civilization, and just basically have Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock do a show just like this, except about basically finding Atlantis or whatever the lost civilization was. That I would watch the shit out of that. I would pay crowdfunding to see that thing be made. I want that a regular series, just like Ancient Aliens, because that's kind of what I'm into. But you're right. That that would be very, very, very interesting. I would have to trust the person who puts me in a sleep or a deprivation tank.
Right.
I'd have to know that person in and out, because I got claustrophobia. It's something I didn't used to have, but I have it now due to an incident. Well, a very long one, but it's like, so I can't do that. I would freak the fuck out. But I've never had a bad trip on acid or anything. And I definitely seen or thought things and felt things. Maybe, I'm sober now, but maybe like, if I'm dying, I'll put that on my bucket list. Okay. That sounds like something I might want to do.
There's also the concept of the third eye too. If we could open our third eye, maybe we can see into these other realms. So that's about peace, love, all that stuff.
I just like, even my son, the youngest one, asked, he's watching YouTube and he's like, Dad, what if we're in a simulation? I'm like, let's talk about that. And me and my 12-year-old were talking about life being a simulation for like a half an hour while Mom was rolling her eyes the whole time. It was great. Great. Okay, so we're gonna get a few more. We got like 10 more minutes, folks. 10 more minutes sound good before we get to Friday night. Black Rose Gold 87. So happy I caught this. We are too. Welcome to the best chat on the internet. Period.
Bye, Black Gold.
Welcome. Oh wow, and Talim knows his stuff. Let's read some Talim stuff. We got Persian Scribe. I gotta read a Persian Scribe. You guys should read my book because it is an action adventure set in the 50s in the Mediterranean, which touches on some of these topics. Persian Scribe, contact me. Let me know where we can find it. Is it like on Amazon or let me know. I'd love to read it. Absolutely love to read it. We could talk about it too, if you don't mind. I'd have to get your permission first. Even Chinese records records the history of the Tower of Babel. Oh, I did not know that, Talim. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's really brilliant. They did at one point think they found it, but then they weren't so sure. So Susan says movie Fanobi.
Hi, Steve.
Fanobi is always on fire. Tarka Jedi, there are all sorts of maths problems in the Bible. So when they say 900, they mean 39. I got thrown out of Sunday school for asking why the window in the ark was so small. Well, because the two ants that they saved would have gotten out.
Well, you know what the theory is of the ark? They believe that the theory, and this is the ancient astronauts theorists, believe that the ark is actually a repository.
Kind of like what we have now up there in
human genetics, like codes, like samples of floral life and animals, that it wasn't a literal ark.
No.
That's what that's the theory on it.
And even that's
fascinating.
Absolutely. And even that symbol with the staff and the snake around it, it looks like a DNA strand. Listen, we're going to, maybe in our lifetime, we're going to find something, not the Library of Alexandria, although that would be fucking rad.
Yeah.
We're going to find something because you just have to dig deeper. If you could take a giant hair dryer to the sands of Egypt, dude, the shit you would find would be amazing. They're finding stuff to this day. They found like some big old statue that was like buried under a rubbish pit or something like that.
Wow.
Just digging around in Egypt. There's one pyramid that they throw trash into. It's like a blown out pyramid that's just a garbage pit.
You have to have those.
Yeah. I want to get Gary Nerdrotic on my roundtable show because we can discuss all sorts of things. Sure. Absolutely. Hey, man of action. How's it going? My time is crazy, but if you give me a couple of months, I can definitely do it. Persian Scribe. It's good to see you, man of action. How are you? Marcus Connor, remote viewing said it is still in a dark tomb. Remote viewing's a trip. That is definitely a trip. Ed Dane, Major Ed Dane's the guy I used to listen to on Arbel. Complete conceited asshole, but interesting.
Is he the man who stares at goats? Was he part of that?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Maybe he was he was like the consultant on that movie.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Persian Scribe. Just go to nerdrotics@gmail.com. Hit me up. Or on Twitter. My DMs are open on Twitter.
Well, the Montauk Project, which some still claim is going on, had a chair that they used for remote viewing. And interestingly enough, they mentioned a chair, not last episode, but the very first episode of this current season, about the metal chairs with the pyramids.
Yeah.
And supposedly in Montauk, there's a chair. And even Stranger Things in season 2, I think they touched on the Montauk Project and remote viewing and all those interesting little weird stories out there.
Definitely. We could do a whole thing. I could do 3 hours on the pyramids and just those rose granite boxes that are in there that make no fucking sense whatsoever. Viking bitch, Vikings, we're gonna have to talk about like when I can do Vikings. I'll do it. I just the time frame right now is a bit tight. So I got I can say Farscape will be in the next 2 weeks. Everyone spam Gary with ancient aliens port. Go ahead. Go ahead. It's going to take me another week to get through all my emails and direct messages and stuff. I don't know how guys do it with 60,000 subs. They must, I mean, I'm going to need to hire somebody. Oh, wait, I got a kid. Porn. Oh, porn. That'll just get mixed in with the regular porn. Movie Fanobi. Sometimes you need to just lick it, says Viking bitch. Hashtag sometimes you need to just lick it. Yes. They said they made Stranger Things in real life for some real stuff out there. For Montauk, yeah. Montauk, that is the single greatest Art Bell interview ever. His subject on Montauk, I have it. When Napster first hit, you know what I downloaded on freaking Napster? Art Bell. Because you couldn't, because all he would do, he was selling cassette tapes, and I didn't want to buy. Sorry, Art. I became a member of your club, and may you rest in peace. But I downloaded all your shows off Napster, and I have Father Malachi Martin. I've got all that stuff. Maybe I can make a secret page on my website where people can listen to that. But that would be illegal. So maybe we shouldn't do that. That's a bad idea. Let's reboot the Mary Sue with all male writers and reboot Bleeding Cool with artificial intelligence writers. Well, that would require intelligence, Talim. Intelligence. Yeah, reboot the Mary Sue. That's funny. We'll call it the Gary Sue. There you go.
You know what? The Gary Sue exists, though. That's sure the male version.
Oh my God. Can I punch myself in the face repeatedly? Oh my God. I love yeah, Dennis and I are going to be reading some of our comments we've gotten on our Cloak and Dagger video. They are rich. They're so good. We usually don't get like a lot of shit. I mean, it's been a while. When I recap Star Trek Discovery, we got a lot of shit. So we'll be reading those a little bit. There's that island in the Mediterranean Sea that has ancient ruins that giants supposedly lived in, but there's only a few regular person-sized bones found there. Yeah, that's where I'm actually going there next year. I'm going to an island tour in Greece. Yes. Nice. Yeah. That might be the first week I won't be podcasting for the channel. I don't know if I'll try, but I'll be busy looking for ancient aliens. Art Bell is dead. Yes, Bad Bunny. He died a few months back. I did a podcast on it. I was very sad. I loved Art Bell. There's been a lot of controversy around him. None of it's proven. I think he was just a weird cat. And I think people were chasing him down. I think people were after him. Now, I think they were like stalkers, maybe. I don't know if they were government. Cloak and Dagger, that show sounded like trash. Hashtag next. Black Rose Gold 87, you're in the right place. You're in the right place. Thank you for joining us. Soviets had their own crazy stuff made ours look like kindergarten. You're right, man of action. Susan, the whole story of the Ural Mountains, that was on Ancient Aliens, where those hikers went out there, and then they ended up they found their bodies, and they ripped their tents open, and they like some of them were burned and missing their tongues, and it was a crazy story. I know it's got nothing to do with Taken, but that was the creepiest thing I've ever seen on Ancient Aliens.
Well, wasn't it also tied in with the idea of the gold discs that they found in the caves over in China?
Something the Ural Mountains one in Soviet was actually more closely related to there's supposedly these giant like cannons or something over there. There's like these big caverns, and they say that they shoot meteors out of the sky, basically. And they said that Russian one was shot down by one of them. I read all kinds of weird shit. I'm not saying I believe it. Okay. I forgot what they're called though. They're actually called something in the Ural Mountains. Hang on. I'll look it up real quick. Oh God. How do you spell the Ural Mountains?
URAL.
So like how it sounds. URAL.
Yes.
Mountains. Oh, they're called like spheres or something like that.
Yeah. Because I love stories like that where they talk about those hikers and what happened to them. And then they theorize things like radiation burns and alien experiments gone awry, because that's what mutilated cattle, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's called the Datlov Pass incident, and is truly creepy. Whatever happened to them, it's creepy. God dang it. What are those things called again? They've okay. So in the Ural Mountains, they found megaliths that are amazingly huge that they say are natural, that aren't. They found prehistoric high tech stuff there. God damn, what is that? That's a crazy looking thing. The controversial 120-year-old map. That's not true. I forgot what they're called, but they're basically these domes that supposedly open up, and they're like radioactive. And if you go down there, you're going to die of radiation sickness. And I'll find it at some point. But yeah, cool stuff. The Ural Mountains are, well, at least that Davlot Pass incident is creepy as hell. Yeah, and there, there's pictures, and yeah. So we got to wrap it up here. We got to wrap it up and get ready for Friday Night Tights. Thank you, Ancient Alien fans, for joining us. Please join us in the future. We are, I mean, even though I was kind of critical about the show, I'm a huge fan of this show. Okay.
Yeah.
And you are welcome to come in here and be a skeptic or believer. Everybody's welcome as long as they're cool. But yeah, I'm a believer. You a believer, Susan?
I am, to a certain extent, but there's always that part of me that wants to know more. I'm always questioning. That's why I write. I'm analytical. So, but I do. I mean, I would say I'm closer to Fox Mulder.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely open-minded to that stuff. And I used to not be, but through experience and a little chat, it was over time. But my first wife's, or my ex-father-in-law, was a pilot, and he told me crazy stories, and he's just a regular guy. And then there's my uncle, who told me some crazy stories, who used to, like, he worked for the military for his entire life. Yeah. So Dennis Dennis is definitely Scully for sure. For sure. He's Dennis might as well have been from Missouri, because you got to show him, and he still won't believe it. Yeah.
Well,
Okay. Yeah, he's listening. I'm sure he's watching. All right, everybody. We'll see you in a few minutes, Ancient Alien fans. We'll see you next Friday, 7:15 p.m. Pacific time, or probably 7:30 p.m. Pacific time next Friday, because there is a couple of episodes left. And if you're watching us live, come back in about 20 minutes, and we'll have our new show ready to go. Any final words, Susan?
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Keep looking up at the stars.
I like that. I like that. And wow, we got to see Susan. I'm so excited about this. All right, guys. May the small folks sing songs of your greatness. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Oh, by the way, sorry, I can't not thank. $20 super chat from John Bellman. Thank you so much. Wow. And Dakota Stanton, $5. Thank you for the patrons. Your video will show at the next video. You guys are awesome. Now, may the small folks sing songs of your greatness. Ciao.